And another Fox News alert, we are watching the floor of the U.S. Senate where 3 senators will again attempt to force a vote on legislation to protect special counsel Robert Mueller's investigation. This is Outnumbered, and I'm Melissa Francis. Here today is Harris Faulkner, Fox News contributor Lisa Boothe, Democratic strategist, radio host, and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. And joining us on the couch today, former White House Press Secretary Sean Spicer. He is outnumbered, and that tie is sizzling.
I was trying to get it to match. I don't know if it works.
It's fabulous.
Yeah, it's good.
Do a little more colors now that I'm out.
You know what? I love it when our guest pays attention to the color wheel.
I don't know that I paid. Other people tell me to pay attention.
Well, you're smart to listen then.
It's like the animals still
You're
for
very
me.
smart. There
that
you go.
That matches with that.
All right. On to business. A bipartisan trio leading the way, Democrat Chris Coons, Cory Booker, and retiring Republican Jeff Flake. They want to use a procedural maneuver to force a vote on a bill to shield the special counsel from potential interference. This move has failed once before, and it may fail again, as Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he'll block it. But Senator Chris Coons believes he has an advantage.
What I think the Republican Majority Leader ought to do is simply allow us to have a vote and move forward. Senator Flake, I'll remind you, has steadfastly refused to vote for any presidential nominee for a judicial post, either in the Judiciary Committee or on the floor, until we get this vote. That gives us some leverage.
Senate Majority Leader McConnell says the bill is simply unnecessary.
The president's not going to fire Robert Mueller. Nor do I think he should, nor do I think he should not be allowed to finish.
Will you repeat what you did and object if they ask unanimous consent to bring that bill to the floor tomorrow like they did?
I probably would, yeah.
All of this developing as President Trump ramps up his criticism of the Russia probe. The president tweeting just this morning, while the disgusting fake news is doing everything within their power not to report it that way, at least 3 major players are intimating that the angry Mueller gang of Dems is viciously telling witnesses to lie about facts, and they will get relief. This is our Joseph McCarthy era. Woo!
But at some point, you have a limited amount of time left in this Congress. And the question is the juice worth the squeeze? Are we going to get more out of allowing this to happen?
I might have to borrow that.
I
that is a good one. Yeah.
Why are we're doing something? We are creating a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. You're right. The president just turned over questions to what he has. Every witness that they've asked for, apparently, so far, at least you haven't seen any complaints, is turned over, and countless documents have been handed over.
Okay, so you see there Senator Coons on the floor talking about this very issue and arguing for this protection, for the special counsel. Leslie, what is the case for the protection? You've heard everyone around you saying the president hasn't threatened to fire him anyway.
Well, his tweets are pretty threatening all the time about what he, the amount of respect that he gives the special counsel. And in addition to that, you said there isn't a problem. The problem with the problem is once there is a problem, it's already done. A termination has already been issued. So this is something that has, I agree with you, Harris, do they even have the votes? So let it go to a vote. You have to remember,
they do have the votes.
Senator Flake has said, look, I'm going to stop your nominees. He's not only on the committee, but the GOP has a very slim majority margin, 11-10. So I think this is something, and especially with the second in the Senate, John Cornyn, in the second ranking GOP in the Senate, says, hey, maybe we sure they do, quite frankly, then Mueller is protected from any further, if you will, obstruction by the president or the AG's office. Any further obstruction by the president or the AG's office, just to finish the job, to finish the investigation completely.
I want to ask a question to you, Leslie. If President Trump was going to shut down this Mueller investigation, why would he submit the questions? Why would he submit all of these witnesses or provide all these witnesses to Mueller's team? Why would he submit 1.5 million pages of documents? Why?
Well, first of all, you were asking me something I don't think you can even answer, which is the mind of our president.
I do know the answer.
On the one hand, he says there's no collusion.
Not shutting it down,
he says he's going to sit down with Mueller.
He says he's not going to sit down with Mueller. Before we run out of time, though, the irony of Jeff Flake saying he's going to block these judges when he's supposed to be a conservative, when he's been so unreliable, when he's going to go against what the party really wants, all for this, this move that is just grandstanding.
But everyone acts as though
amazing.
this will be enough. Trust me, you push this through, then it becomes the next demand. I mean, this is not the end of the game. This is one step in a political drama.
point.
This is a compelling argument for each side, and on both sides, I don't see necessarily the Democrats winning in this. Oh, Leslie's quiet. Let's move on.
Flake repeatedly lives up to his last name.
Also on Capitol Hill on this fine Wednesday. Right now, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo expected to speak to reporters. At any minute now, senators have been coming to the microphones after Pompeo and Defense Secretary James Mattis briefed them in a closed-door briefing, obviously, on U.S. relations with Saudi Arabia following the murder of Washington Post columnist Jamal Kashoggi. Lawmakers on both sides of the political aisle stepping up calls for a stronger response to those behind Khashoggi's death. The CIA has reportedly assessed with high confidence the Saudi Crown Prince ordered Khashoggi's murder. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says the Senate is now reviewing what action it will take. Watch it.
What obviously happened, as basically certified by the CIA, is completely abhorrent to everything the United States holds dear and stands for in the world. So some kind of response to that certainly would be in order, and we're discussing what the appropriate response should be.
The State Department and Pentagon released transcripts of Pompeo and Mattis's unclassified remarks. Both men urged members of Congress not to pull U.S. military support from Saudi Arabia as a Saudi-led coalition wages a war in Yemen. They say that would only worsen the ongoing humanitarian crisis there and embolden Iran. Meanwhile, the president is standing by Saudi Arabia and telling the Washington Post he's skeptical about the Crown Prince's involvement in the Khashoggi killing. The president said, "If you look at my statement, it's maybe he did and maybe he didn't." And the CIA did not say affirmatively he did it either, by the way. I'm not saying that they're saying he didn't do it, but they didn't say it affirmatively. Sean Spicer, there are politics at play here, and there's economic concerns at play
And military
here.
concerns as well.
And
national security concerns as well. That makes it very complicated. That being said, I think the United States needs to be very clear that no matter who you are, if you are kidnapped, killed, and dismembered, that is wrong. There's a human rights element to this. And I think we need to stand firm about what is right and what is wrong. And we need to take quick and decisive action if that is the conclusion of the CIA.
What do you make of the president and now the National Security Advisor, John Bolton, both refusing to listen to the audio tape of the killing of Khashoggi?
I mean, I mean, if the CIA comes in and says, this is what happened, this is how it worked, do you want to hear it? I don't know that you need to.
But the president doubts, apparently, the validity or the affirmative. He said it wasn't affirmatively put from the CIA. So do you?
No, I don't think he doubts the tape. He said he didn't want to listen to the tape. He doubts the affirmative of
the CIA,
of them saying. I mean, my guess is that the report said, based on everything that we have, we believe the following on a preponderance of the evidence.
And you don't want to listen to the evidence?
Well, I think no, I think the evidence just probably shows somebody yelling and squealing. There's no question Khashoggi was killed and dismembered. The question is, and what's the issue is, who ordered it? Did it go to the Crown Prince? There's no question that he was
on the
killed.
tape.
How could it not have, though?
No, I get it, but I'm saying that there's a big difference between whether he was killed by the Saudis, which he was. I think even they admit that.
Yeah.
Or whether the Crown Prince ordered it and knew about it.
I don't think
that's different.
Any way that the Crown Prince didn't know about it. At the same time, when I look at this incident, it reminds me why we're friends with Israel, and it makes me think back to how President Obama alienated Israel. And the reason why we are friends with them is they are so different from the others in the region in terms of their respect for human rights and democracy. And this reminds you what the rest of the neighborhood is like.
Well, and the other thing is, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We can say to Saudi Arabia, we need you economically, you're important national security-wise, but this behavior is unacceptable and horrible.
But we've already done that, though. But there's a lot of fiction going on in this not with us specifically, but just out there regarding.
Thank you.
No, I love you guys. No, just to clarify that. But there has been sanctions levied. The administration levied 17 sanctions on 17 different individuals that were connected to Khashoggi's killing. And Mike Pompeo, the secretary, laid that out in a Wall Street Journal op-ed, I think it was today, talking about that, the fact that there has been action taken. That's often not discussed, but that is the case. The case that the administration is making and what Pompeo did in the op-ed today, that our strategic interests in the region outweigh taking further action against Saudi Arabia, that we need Saudi Arabia in dealing with Iran, dealing with Yemen, dealing with some of these hostilities also for economic stability in the region as well. And I think that's right.
Right.
But
I
are
just
we
want to
saying
point
that
everybody-
oil and money are more important than human life? I think our moral compass is better
Let
than
me
that
just
as
get back to the live
So,
stream.
Leslie, getting back to the border wall for a second, wouldn't it make sense for the president to take Chuck Schumer up on his offer, take whatever money there is there, and just declare victory? I mean, what would Democrats do in that point if he said, great, I'll take it, and I'm building my wall? We all know it's a wall system. Done. And Democrats gave in.
I wish Democrats hadn't given. I'm out with my party and party leadership on
So he
this
would win if he
100%.
did that. You would.
Well, it wouldn't be the political win that Sean is talking about. And thank you for admitting it is a political maneuver here. Because you're looking at the money that he's proposing, $5 billion, that is just for the wall. That is not for any troops to have any security. Because remember, there are going to be people climbing over that wall. So to take the money that Chuck Schumer, that the Democrats and the Republicans agreed upon, I think would be a partial, not a full political
But if
victory.
he
for the
declares
president.
victory, victory is victory.
But it would avoid a shutdown. And let me tell you,
But
I
it's not just
disagree.
politics.
I disagree with the president. I disagree with Republicans who think that this would be on Democrats and that Democrats would be blamed.
No,
historically, we see that the party in power is blamed if
But
there's
Leslie,
a government
it's
shutdown.
not. It's not just
period.
politics. It's not just politics, though. It's a necessity. We need that deterrent at the southern border. We are having a real problem right now with illegal activity on the southern border. We just saw over 1,000 people try to rush the southern border and got engaged with the U.S. Border Patrol. We've seen a 110% increase in the past
So you
year
don't think an
alone
increase in troops could?
of
You don't think our
adults
troops could handle
coming
that?
over with minors, because we've had an issue with family units. We've had 80% increase since the end of the zero tolerance
long-term
policy. President Trump, what he needs to do is not just ask for a border wall, but to ask for changes with seeking asylum. Make it more difficult for people to seek asylum. 89% are going to pass the first test. Only 9% get granted at immigration courts. What does that tell you about the system? It is way too easy to pass your initial test. And then what happens is they get lost in the United States, and add to what the Yale University study just had, that 22 million people living here illegally, just add to that. This is a huge problem. Not only do we need a deterrent, but we also need to fix the things that are broken.
There are things that are broken as immigration. We don't have a comprehensive immigration program.
That's true.
Can
We
I
don't
say
know
what
what millions of people
Leslie,
aren't
can I
being
step in
addressed.
with just a
Yeah.
quick fact check?
Yeah.
Because you said that the $5 billion is for the wall completely, but that's not been reported, and that's not true. The House bill funds $5 billion for the wall and adds ICE and Border Patrol agents. The president has always called this a wall system. It has never been a complete wall, because you couldn't. I know I have a house just a few miles north of Nogales. There are places where it's porous, where there's water. There are a whole lot of geographic reasons why you can't build a solid wall along our border. So what do we need? We need to fill in those gaps, those porous areas, with more ICE and Border Patrol. It's a wall system. And you don't even have to take my word for it. Just when you look at the plan and when you look at what the president is asking for, that $5 billion does more than a structure. It also shores up what Democrats agreed to. In 2006, they built some hard fencing or wall, and now it needs, all these years later, some restoration. So it pays for some of that too.
Well, I don't disagree with the restoration that's necessary.
Yeah, but the money does more than just the wall, was my fact.
Actually, I was quoting the president on that, because he was talking about how the $5 billion, this is what he wants for the wall, and he needs more money for troops and others to maintain, and a security system to assist with that.
That's what's in the House bill. He probably wants more. You're right about
Sean,
it.
I'm sure this is bringing back memory. All good, I'm
Need to
sure.
go back to therapy.
Do you want to talk about that?
I'm going to lay down. I'm just going to lay down and we can ask questions.
Sean, can you say that again? I got a tweet.
Oh!
Is the relationship between the media and the president repairable?
I think it can get made better. I don't know that it's I mean, look, yes, it can get a heck of a lot better. I think there's a difference between content and behavior. No one's got a problem. I think that was great. They should ask as many questions as they want on any subject they want, and they should have follow-ups. But I think the issue has always been about behavior. There's a difference between politely saying, here's my question, here's a subject I'd like to ask, and I'd like a follow-up on it. Fine. But what has been in the past is a bunch of childish behavior where you jump up and down, you raise your hand, you come out of turn. There's a lot of journalists in those rooms, just even for the press briefings, that all want to have a question asked about an issue or concern that a constituency that their publication represents deserve to be asked. And they don't need one or two people creating their own little show for it and hogging up all the time.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, but no follow-up.
When you were there.
No follow-up, Leslie.
I'm going to have a follow-up.
one,
When you got the
Leslie.
floor-
Make it good.
When I'm on the floor, man, I'm going to take my time.
Make it count, Leslie.
Whether it's you, whether it's Sarah, whoever it is, whether it's
not
a
me.
Democrat or Republican in the House, Don't you play into that too, though? Do you know what I mean? With your response to the
Sure.
questions and the manner
Fair
in
enough.
which you respond to the questions?
Yeah, but they started it.
Oh,
I know you are, but what am I?
exactly.
No,
Thank you. You read my mind.
No, I agree with you. I think that it's a two-way street. And I wrote about this in my book. There's plenty of times when I think I took the bait, or I could have been better or bigger about it. So there's no question about it. But I think that this is not a one-way street, and the press has got to remember that if they want to be treated with respect, they've got to act like professionals.